Botswana Investment and Trade Center drives a mandate encompassing investment promotion and attraction, export promotion and development, and management of the nation brand. This is key in driving economic growth, diversification, and creating sustainable employment for Botswana. In its 10 years of existence, BITC has made an impact in the lives of Botswana and cemented itself as the go-to investment promotion agency in the country. Tune into the Business Crawl every Monday and Thursday between 1330 hours to 1400 hours to join BITC as they engage on their services and share the various investment and export opportunities that Botswana can benefit from and participate in the country's economic diversification drive. Botswana, Akola Botswana with BITC. A very good afternoon to all development partners who have tuned in Botswana and those who are listening across borders through GAPS FM's live stream. Today, it is a very exciting show. We premiere Akola Botswana on radio right here on GAPS FM. We're quite excited that we are doing this with Botswana Investment and Trade Center, celebrating 10 years anniversary. We're quite excited that the person who's to premiere this show today is the Chief Executive Officer, Re Kilitsusitse Ulibile. Be a part of this discussion. 14962 is your SMS line. We celebrate 10 years anniversary. Re Ulibile, a very big congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much, Neo. It's quite an exciting moment for us and quite historic as we celebrate our 10th year anniversary.
You and your entire team, it's without a doubt, you have been doing a fantastic job. I think we can all see the job that BITC has been doing. You have been quite visible in all media platforms. We also hear quite a number of reports. Some reports have been even uttered by His Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, giving a report of the investment in Botswana, and knowing that BITC is the leader in this very scope, I think your job is absolutely incredible.
Thank you very much for that. I think we have a culture and philosophy at BITC where we focus on outcomes. Anything means nothing unless it bears outcomes. So
Absolutely.
That's how we are driven to drive the things that you have seen.
Absolutely. Now, let us just make, just a brief refreshment of BITC mandate.
Thank you very much. BITC is a parastatal under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. We are mandated by an Act of Parliament, the Botswana Investment and Trade Center Act, to basically, first and foremost, attract investment to Botswana.
Yes.
We are the ones that go around and tell investors how Botswana is a great place to do business and how they can come in and basically deploy on the ground and create benefits for our people. But don't mistake us for only being foreign focused. We're also looking a lot at our own domestic investors. There's a lot of capital locally, a lot of ideas, a lot of entrepreneurship spirit that we tend to facilitate to also get domestic investment deploying. In the second area of our mandate, we also look after what we call export development and promotion. Once these investors have landed and anchored on the ground, Botswana's market is quite small. So they will naturally want to look at a broader market in the region and elsewhere in the globe. So we do a lot of development programs, ultimately taking these goods and services out to the market to broaden their earnings.
Yes.
And then we are also custodian of the nation brand Botswana, which is all about creating national image building and global awareness creation. So Botswana is not too well known. And that's why we felt it important to have this initiative to always promote what Botswana is and what Botswana stands for. But under these broad mandate programs, we will have initiatives such as your annual Global Expo, which, by the way, is coming this year in November.
Fantastic.
We will have the International Financial Services Center, which is contained in the Income Tax Act. We are the promoter for that, and we see quite a number of companies that are anchored under that. We would have initiatives such as the Trade Portal, which is about extending information to Botswana on the do's and don'ts of exporting and some of the rules that apply. So we tend to update that real time so that our exporters are empowered in terms of what to do. So yes, in short, that is the length and breadth of our mandate.
Thank you very much. If you just tuned in, welcome. We premiere on air the Akola Botswana campaign with Botswana Investment and Trade Center. Quite an exciting time, and thank you very much for rolling in your comments and questions. Take note that we are rolling this on BITC's digital platforms. You can also drop in your comment and question right there. We are with Chief Executive Officer Re Kilitsusitse Ulibile. We are on the drive time, prime hour drive time until 1400 hours, so you can still continue to join us celebrating 10 years anniversary. Re Ulibile, the services BITC offers, I'm quite happy earlier on that you were emphasizing that the people you serve are not just foreign but are also our very own domestic investors. Please take us through the services.
Thank you for that. Under the portfolio of services or mandate areas that we drive, we also host what is called the Botswana Services Center, the Botswana One-Stop Services Center, which we abbreviate as BOSC.
Yes.
At BOSC, we basically deal with all government authorizations that you can think about on a red carpet basis to investors. If an investor has landed in Botswana and is looking for work and residence permits, in other words, importation of labor that they couldn't find in Botswana, we will have a dispensation with the relevant ministry to make sure that that is facilitated. If an investor comes in looking for land, we have an accelerated program where they can be allocated land to deploy. We do have our own portfolio of factory shells, but we also have a partnership with the private sector where if somebody has a factory, office space and all that, they will register with us. And as we get investors, we tend to introduce them to these landlords so that their properties can be occupied.
Right.
We tend to follow what we call a hybrid model of a one-stop services center. In other words, we have government officers in certain ministries seconded to us. We co-locate with senior officers from immigration, labor, and lands. But for all the other service providers that you can talk about, be it BURS, be it the commercial banks in Botswana,
yes,
we would have what we call a dedicated service desk within each of these institutions, so that if there is a hold-up with an investor's application, we can always follow up with a dedicated somebody and make sure that service is fast and accelerated.
Right. Amongst the services, what also is of interest and should be of interest also to Botswana is the policy advocacy to improve the ease of doing business, which is very, very important for Botswana to hear your input as BITC as it relates to the ease of doing business.
Yes, absolutely. Quite a key one that we do. We have a program called Aftercare Service. Through Aftercare Service is where we send our teams across the country to engage investors in conversations on what works and what doesn't work. Where do they think there could be improvement? And if there are any notable gaps that require government intervention, we will come and package that message into an advocacy statement where we've also researched and thought out and actually advised government on what intervention we think can resolve that problem for the investors. So
right,
that tends to continuously elevate the ease of doing business in Botswana, because we always have our ear on the ground. We want to be the best doing business destination, and anything that doesn't work, it's in our interest for it to be resolved.
While we're still on the services, currently the Business Crawl is running a campaign for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs dubbed Advancing Botswana's National Interests Abroad Through Economic Diplomacy. We are hosting Botswana's heads of the diplomatic missions across, who are scattered all over the world, every Wednesdays. And oftentimes the excellencies refer to BITC, working very well with BITC in their mandate of having to forge business relations between Botswana and the countries in which they represent. Can you speak of your services tied to that specifically?
Yes, we are one Botswana. And as I always advise them, all departments have to work like a symphony orchestra. Each one plays their part, but in the end there has to be music that somebody can dance to. So specific to the diplomatic missions, we work very closely with them because you remember that in investment attraction, you want to cover all strategic markets where you can effectively source investment. But through our limited resources, we can't be everywhere and anywhere. So the embassies, since they are already there, are a very good extension of our government effort of economic diplomacy. You hear us talk about a shift from political to economic diplomacy.
Yes.
So we always empower them at the back end to make sure that they have all the necessary information and know-how to be able to generate leads, engage investors, generate leads that BITC can then convert. And we do get a lot of conversions that are originated by our embassies out there.
Thank you very much for that. You are on the Business Call if you just tuned in. The premiere of Akola, Botswana with Botswana Investment and Trade Center celebrating 10 years anniversary. We are with the Chief Executive Officer Reke Letswisitse Ulibile until 1400 hours. Continue to drop in those comments and questions on BITC's digital platforms, the Business Call, as well as GAPS FM's live stream. +267 395 6962 for those listening to us across borders. As we continue into the second segment, Re Ulibile, looking at Botswana's economic status, how has BITC played an important role in driving economic growth of the country?
Yes, I think that can be attested by the achievements that we've registered in the 10 years of our existence. We were just running the numbers, and we do note that in terms of pure FDI, BITC has over the 10 years attracted 15 billion pula worth of FDI across sectors, and we will articulate that.
Yes.
We also look at, as I said, investment expansions and domestic investment, where we've recorded a figure of 13 billion pula over the years. As I said, we drive exports, and we measure ourselves in terms of the value of export earnings that we will register, foreign earnings that come through our efforts to export. And there we've registered 23 billion pula. And in the process, you'll find that we've been very active in cultivating new products for exports,
yes,
as well as new markets. And that has really landed very well. But we would have other small programs, small as in, well, in relation to everything, but very important.
Yes.
Like the hashtag #PusherBW,
yes,
which rallies Botswana to say, let us consume our own products, let us consume our own services. If you go into some of the retail stores today, like Trans-Africa, Square Mart and others, you will see specific branding that guides you as a shopper where local products are on the shelves. So we've done a lot in terms of pushing our products to be seen on the shelves of these retail stores, which actually exist across markets, and therefore they become an obvious avenue to carry the same products into elsewhere where they are operating in other countries. We've done a lot in supplier development, where we are going to these big procuring entities like your mines and that to say, what aspect of your procurement can you localize? We have a dedicated program with Botswana today where these yellow monsters that they use, we believe that instead of always taking them for service and getting parts from South Africa, we can get rebuild centers in Botswana where they can be maintained here and repaired here. And we see some of their main suppliers already deploy massive investment to localize that aspect. So we've taken some of the mine MDs to some of our producers around in Botswana to say, where they are always telling us there are no goods of, they are right quality in Botswana. Here are people making an effort.
Yeah.
You should start buying from them. And you see the numbers improving in terms of engagement. So those are some of the, I think, things that I can highlight in contribution to the economy.
Thank you very much. And I'm quite happy that you came well prepared, because we always want to hear statistics, especially as we celebrate the 10 years. I think Botswana will really appreciate that, because oftentimes I know as reports are given, can we weigh the figures? So I'm quite happy that you are sharing with Botswana the exact figures. While we're still on this one in particular, especially in what you said as a follow-up question in having to promote local consumption of produce, would one say that you also do advise on the statutory instruments that we often hear being brought forward the statutory instruments?
Yes, absolutely. I think you are talking to import restrictions.
Yes, the import
to make sure that we stimulate locally.
Yes, we stimulate locally.
Yes, we do. One of our approaches in formulating investment is to look at what we are importing in large numbers. We've intervened quite greatly in areas like, for example, salt and salt products. You remember that some years ago, there was an import restriction on that.
Yes.
And immediately that was done. You will see some of the small packaged salt producers come in to locate in Botswana, in Suwa, close to the source, to make sure that we can do our own here.
Yes.
We are doing the same in terms of now, as I said in other interviews, we are locating one of the largest, possibly, cement producers in the region. Once we are self-sustaining in cement, it's okay to close borders so that you can stimulate yours.
Right.
And the list can go on to many, many others. So, yes, where opportunity has been given through import control, we do intervene to make sure that we build sufficient local capacity to patch up that gap.
Absolutely. We're going towards the end of the program. It is the premiere of Akola, Botswana. If you just tuned in, continue to be a part of this discussion as you partake into it. Ke Reolibile, the Chief Executive Officer. Challenges that BITC faces, Reolibile, as an organization in promoting investment, and what are the interventions that have been executed throughout the 10 years?
Thank you very much. I think the effectiveness of any investment and trade promotion agency is anchored on its placement and empowerment, particularly in the bigger scheme of things. So as BITC, as we approach our strategies, we always look at how we stand in terms of investor appetite. I can tell you that for Botswana, the investor appetite is very high. But we also correspond that with what we call offer attractiveness.
Right.
Can we improve in terms of our offer? Yes, absolutely yes. So that is why we bring in this aspect of advocacy, where we always advise government to say, for us to be regionally, globally competitive, these are areas that we have to intervene and make sure that, we can play in the game. Investors usually are attracted by market size.
Yes.
Right. But beyond market size, they are also pursuing efficiencies. And in pursuing efficiencies, things like, sector-based incentives that we can talk about are very important. So that some sectors that will want to locate in a country that is landlocked or land-linked like Botswana can then compensate for some of the transport costs and others that will make them competitive with another product from elsewhere where it could be cheaper to produce. So we always advocate in that regard. And I think you were asking about challenges. We want the government machinery to always be committed to improve our offer attractiveness. Because as Botswana, we're really standing well to be the lead in terms of investment formation and investment lending in the world.
Right. I think we're left with about 6 minutes, and there are just a few things that I would just like us to add before I excuse you, Reolibile. Botswana endeavors to be an export-led economy. His Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi always says that Vision 2036 has a pronouncement of, our status going high to an high income status. We have the latest reset agenda, which is aligning all of us towards that particular goal. Where is BITC's role in ensuring that we do reach the heights that have been put before us as our vision?
I always respond to that by saying, economic growth is driven by the industries that you can form within that economy. So for us to really generate, it's a function of our productivity through the sectors that we host in Botswana. So as I said, we formate opportunities in terms of what we import. We formate investment opportunities in terms of where we have natural endowments and a good positioning to be able to drive some investment. We're always on the lookout for innovative sectors. Like, for example, the world is talking clean energy, renewable energy. As a subset of that, we're talking e-mobility.
Yes.
Some companies in the auto industry would say by 2030 we will no longer be producing carbon-fired engines. That means electric vehicles will be center stage. You see how timely it was for His Excellency the President to pronounce a desire to produce an electric vehicle.
Absolutely.
During his term. And
Yes.
you know that as BITC, we would then follow up with that, issue an expression of interest, which we are currently evaluating. But we're also looking at other endowments that we have. We have possibly 80% of all the minerals required to manufacture a battery for an electric vehicle. Some we can import, like lithium from the DRC. So how do we formate an industry in that regard of manufacturing of electric car batteries? So we believe that our acceleration to high income status will take us continuously being on the lookout and taking opportunities as they emerge to formate industries and create that critical mass that will make sure that our level of productivity lands us at high income status.
One of the interesting subject matters for Botswana is the AfCFTA, which us as the business crawl we're quite active in driving and sensitizing also in our media platforms on the AfCFTA. And I know that as we are driving the economic diplomacy campaign as well, as BITC is always being referred to, Botswana ba botsa thata also gore, re ipankantse go le kae as for us as industry to be able to tap into the AfCFTA. Now I want us to take ourselves from here to the next maybe 10 years. We haven't rectified, yes, but it does not mean that we cannot continue to prepare our industry to be able to tap into such a large market which is being presented to Botswana. As BITC, what is your role in this particular instrument moving forward?
In driving our mandate of export development and promotion, we are anchored on the bilateral and multilateral trade agreements that our country would enter into. Yes, the new one on the block is the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which we are very excited about. We've already started programs that sensitize,
right,
but also make sure that as the various stakeholders, we can build the requisite capacity and enablers that will position us to be able to sell into the market. We are aware, we sit very close to those that lead our ultimate signing and ratification. We have signed, we haven't ratified, but we are assured that we will ratify.
Yes.
So once we ratify, imagine the huge ocean of a market that it opens for us. But for us to be able to tap into that, we need to produce goods and services,
yes,
of the right quality that can compete with those from elsewhere. And that's exactly what we are driving.
In your conclusion, what is your encouragement to Botswana, and maybe also a word of thanks to your entire team? I want to believe that you being the leader, also also the great team that is behind you as well. Lefoko la kgothatso mo Botswaneng, and also a word to your entire team.
Botswana have really been supportive. We couldn't be where we are if it wasn't for the support and encouragement of Botswana. We always undertake our outreach missions to engage Botswana in all four corners. And I think there isn't anywhere you can go in this country where BITC wouldn't be known for one thing or another. So that can really be celebrated and applauded for the efforts that Botswana are putting. We do want their feedback. We do want, their honest engagement so that we can be on a drive to always improve the manner in which we deliver. And as I say, all these support by Botswana is because of them seeing the efforts that our team is making.
Absolutely.
We do have a great team at BITC. They know my philosophy. I say I only manage personalities and attitudes. Anything else falls into place. So let us keep focused. Let us keep driving. The country really needs those outcomes that we are established to drive.
It has been an absolute pleasure for us at the Business Crawl to premiere Akola Botswana on air with Botswana Investment and Trade Center right here on GAPS FM on Prime Hour. And please do look out. This is the premiere. Do look out for more episodes that will be running Mondays and Thursdays. Re Olibile will be joined by his team, who will roll out and expand on every area that he has just touched on, continue to engage with us on BITC's digital platforms, the Business Crowd digital platforms, and Gaps FM's live stream, as well as the studio line. We have taken note of your comments and questions, and colleagues at BITC will surely get back to you. It's been a good afternoon. Botswana Investment and Trade Center drives a mandate encompassing investment promotion and attraction, export promotion and development, and management of the nation brand. This is key in driving economic growth, diversification, and creating sustainable employment for Botswana. In its 10 years of existence, BITC has made an impact in the lives of Botswana and cemented itself as the go-to investment promotion agency in the country. Tune into the Business Crawl every Monday and Thursday between 13:30 hours to 1400 hours to join BITC as they engage on their services and share the various investment and export opportunities that Botswana can benefit from and participate in the country's economic diversification drive. Botswana, Akola Botswana with BITC.